In today's Wasteland Spotlight, we will be showcasing a secluded backcountry cabin out in the wilds of the Mojave Desert. Maintained by volunteers and stocked with everything a weary desert nomad could need for a night or two of rest, Riley's Camp is a place with a long and rich history. I hope you enjoy the tour and welcome to the Wasteland. Scattered all across the United States wilderness areas and public lands, there are hundreds of old deserted cabins from times long past. Still standing and maintained by volunteers for the most part, these not so well kept secret spots offer hikers, prospectors, and explorers safe havens from the elements in times of need, and indeed they are open for use by anyone. Possibly one of the most well-known backcountry cabins in the Mojave National Preserve is Riley's Camp, and that's the one we'll be taking a look at today. Situated inside the Mojave Desert Preserve, Riley's Camp is only about 38 miles away from Interstate I-15 in California, but those miles are along trails that, while not strictly requiring a four-wheel drive vehicle, can be quite challenging for anything else. Mostly flat, there are some very sandy spots where it's easy to get stuck, as well as a few areas where the trail has been washed out by rains. The camp and its main cabin are named for its founder and original owner, John Brembry. Riley was born in Oklahoma on February 5, 1899, just before the turn of the century. He preferred to be called Riley instead of John because he found it more distinctive. After serving in World War I as a medic, he returned home and was one of many vets seeking tranquility and solitude out in the desert. Eventually, he moved to the Ivanpah Mountain region of the Mojave Desert in the late 1920s to pursue mining. Around 1935, Bembry established Riley's Camp on BLM land in a beautiful Joshua tree and juniper woodland with granite outcrops and stunning views all around. The camp itself consists of a main cabin, an outhouse, a cold storage, a mining office, and even a cactus garden. Riley was known for his extensive mining knowledge and had acquired skills with explosives during World War I. Over the last 50-plus years of his life, he staked over 60 mining claims in the area, including the Evening Star Mine, the New Era Mine, and the Morning Star Mine, all of which are well known for being great producers. He was also reported to have mentored other miners and hosted social gatherings at the camp. One can only imagine what went on here back in the days. He lived permanently at Riley's Camp until he died in 1984. Brembry's most enduring legacy is the Mojave Cross War Memorial, which was erected in 1934 on Sunrise Rock just off Sema Road. Having no known religious affiliation or sentiment, Bembry was a member of the VFW post that erected the memorial, and it was very important to him. He saw his maintenance of the memorial as an obligation of his own to those who had died in the war. He always kept a watchful eye on the cross and even replaced it once after it had been destroyed by vandals. After much controversy over its placement on public land, the National Park Service swapped the land to private ownership in 2012, allowing the memorial to remain in place. Following his death in 1984, Riley was buried in a small cemetery with a few others down in the flatlands below the camp. You can visit that grave, and to do so, you just backtrack 1.5 miles from camp and turn north onto unmarked Kessler Peak Road. The graves of Riley and others from the area are about 1/2 mile down this graded dirt road. If you do visit, please do so with the respect and reverence such a place deserves. Volunteers and National Park Service staff have restored and maintained the cabin at Riley's Camp. You are welcome to spend the night in the cabin on a first-come, first-served basis as long as you respect the place. Please keep it clean and leave it better than you found it. follow backcountry cabin etiquette while you are here, a link to which I will provide in the description below. I've been visiting Riley's camp and other cabins in the area for many of my various trips over the years, and it has been a great place to spend a few days when out exploring and scouting the region. Certainly one of my favorite Mojave locations. So, let's take a closer look, shall we? So, as we walk up the front trail of the property, a sign shows a dedication of the place to Riley himself. On the front of the main cabin, left side of the screen here, you can see a small flagpole. If there's a flag flying from that when you come, that means the cabin is occupied. First, we can go check out the small mining office workshop cabin, which is, I think, the oldest structure here. You can also see the main camp fire pit as well. From the front here, we can look down into a small rift that was used as the camp's trash pit. Today we call this a can dump because only the metal cans remain to show signs of where the trash used to be. Inside, there are many old bottles and other artifacts that have been collected by visitors over the years and left behind for others to see. There are always items of interest to be found around these old mining camps. At this point, perhaps some of my newer viewers are wondering, what the hell does all this have to do with prepping? Well, let me tell you. This place and all the other places in my Wasteland Spotlights video series are part of the area within a couple 100 miles of my own established bug out location. I call this my area of operations, and in a post-collapse world, this radius will represent the part of the world I can easily reach on foot. In my case, most of it is wilderness here in the desert southwest. So, when it comes to prepping for the collapse of civilization, knowing this area and all of its resources, such as this cabin, will be of paramount importance. More on that in another video, but for now, back to Riley's camp. From the main window here, we can see the main cabin. Outside, we can walk over to look down at the old outhouse, which of course is still quite functional. Alongside the cabin, we can walk back to find an old tandem swing chair and take in the fabulous vista of the valley. For those of you who have been paying attention to my earlier observations regarding places such as this, what we're looking at here is called defense in depth. This is the open terrain that potential raiders would have to traverse in order to reach this place. If you're here as a defender, you can see them coming from quite a ways out. Now we can head on inside. The first thing that greets us are the rules for using the cabin, something to pay attention to should you come for a visit. To the right is a curtained off area with a bag shower system, but you'll have to bring your own water. As we come into the main room, we see an open kitchen and dining area equipped with everything you would need to prepare a meal. The center is dominated by a table and chairs with an American flag on it. This is the flag you would fly out front if you were planning to occupy the cabin. There's also a photo album here, which is filled with both old photos of Riley and the camp, as well as pictures left by visitors. Very interesting to go through, and I won't spoil it all here. You'll just have to come for a visit. Moving on, you can see that the walls of the main room are also covered with old photos and artifacts. Riley's camp is something of a museum for mining camps out here, and visitors are encouraged to leave any interesting items that they may find nearby. At the front of the room is a large wood-burning stove created from a repurposed 55-gallon steel drum, and along the walls are shelves and cabinets with more supplies and tools. The central section is dominated by a photo wall that also contains notices and information placed here by National Park Service volunteers. There's a spiral notebook filled with the messages of previous visitors from over the years, and guests are encouraged to leave some words for the logbook. Finally, there is a small pantry cabinet stocked with supplies and food left by people who have used the cabin before. It's kind of a tradition to leave whatever you can spare on your way out. Now we can head back to the bunk rooms. There's 2 bunks in this first area, along with a very large hammock off to the side that can be strung up. And there's a small closet for storage. The second bunk room features a wooden double bunk bed. There's also a few camp-type mattress pads lying around for use on any of the bunks. Beyond this, we have what I call the rec room, which has a large box full of board games, cards, dominoes, and all sorts of stuff. There's also a couple tables and a few chairs as well. There are some dart sets and a board on the wall by one of the special old picture collections. More artifacts. Finally, we move to the final room, which is really just a simple storage area with an old fridge, a cooler, and some more chairs. However, behind the door is another interesting feature that someone dubbed the J. Riley Bembry Museum. All sorts of old mining camp and homestead artifacts to check out. You can leave some of your own, but don't take anything. Nobody likes a douchebag. I've left a few items here myself, and in fact, I regularly bring various items out here just to stock up the cabin whenever I plan to make a trip. Beyond some of the obvious things, such as canned food, some items that are cool to bring for others are firewood, old tools, and even pots and pans. You never know when something you don't need might end up being exactly what someone else does need, so leaving a few odds and ends is always a cool thing to do. This old cabin is a fantastic way station for those who want to come spend a few days exploring all the mines and mills in the area, of which there's quite a few. Places like this dot the American wilderness areas in greater numbers than most people realize, and while only a few are kept up by volunteers and visitors, there are many that could still have a purpose to serve. There are a half dozen of them just within a mile or two of this place. So, if you find yourself in the area, looking for adventure or just for a roof over your head for a night, maybe give Riley's Camp a try. Who knows? Maybe I'll see you out there. Until next time, my friends, stay safe, stay ready. It's a wasteland out there.